Hey, AfterBuzz TV fans, tune in now for the How to Get Away with Murder after show. This is episode 13. It's War.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Pretty crazy episode, people.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun. Ramping up the tension because things, all of a sudden escalate to like a factor of 10.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I feel anxious now.
Right? It's giving those vibes.
Yeah.
I love this atmosphere. I love the mood.
Yeah,
Can we
we're
just keep this playing in the
going.
background the whole time?
Whole thing. I mean, that's pretty much how I feel after everything was revealed. We still don't know everything. There's a big finale coming up next week, but we're going to talk about everything up until then. Right now, to start us off, April, where can the people find you?
Hey everybody, I'm April Whisenhant. Y'all can find me everywhere at April Whisenhant.
Hey guys, it's Elayna. You can follow me on all social platforms at hey_it's_lay.
Hey guys, it's Sterling. You can find me at Sterling Cates.
And you guys can find me, JB, at Hey John Blake. We've got a full panel back. I'm super stoked
We missed
about
you guys
it.
last week.
I know. It's
We
crazy.
missed you guys.
We missed you guys.
Yeah.
And that was a crazy episode not to be here. I was
was.
so
No.
sad
Really
when I had to
missed
watch
out.
it by myself.
Yeah.
Not the same.
I feel a little crazy sitting by myself on my couch being like, oh, what? Freaking
Or just
out.
freaking
That's what I
out.
did.
Yeah, solo.
Yeah.
I felt a little crazy trying to jump on JB without the other girls. I was just like, it can't be a girl fight now.
I'm sure he loved it.
Totally. Yeah, at least the ratios for the discussions went more equally.
Yeah, there you
wasn't,
go.
But I mean, I feel like this episode, just things went off the wall. Like
Yeah,
every
it was crazy.
character.
Jaw dropping.
Yeah. I mean, it really just like escalated fast. I sort of thought in the middle that the episode was kind of winding down and ending, and then we went for like another half hour of
Yeah.
craziness.
I know.
Just want to
Pretty good
say
stuff.
that I've suspected Connor all along.
He's
Yes.
just
Yeah.
being
You
a
have.
douche
Yeah, he
since
has
the
been. He
beginning.
has
We've
been.
talked about
Yeah.
that. He's such a...
I don't know. Oh gosh, I don't know how I feel. He's been like up there, but now, I mean, clearly
Yeah.
it's even more so like, what? I mean, or why has he been lying if he did nothing?
I know. I feel like he's got. I mean, hand in the cookie jar is pretty close to like how we caught
Yeah.
him.
But it's almost too easy for it to be
Right.
like the whole thing, so we'll have to
I
obviously
know.
get into
Yeah,
it.
classic. How to Get Away with Murder.
know, right?
They lead us down one road and then they throw a quick curve.
I almost just wonder why he wouldn't have said anything about just his positioning.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, especially if you didn't do it. I understand not wanting to have ties to the scene or ties there, but when you know for a fact that you didn't do it and this is someone who's like in your inner circle, you kind of come out and be like, definitely saw him at the house. He
Right.
definitely
Totally.
was dead before the fire.
Right.
Tried to revive him. Didn't happen, so we need to figure out who was there. But you know what I mean?
So that's
Right.
why it's extra suspicious,
Suspicious,
is because
yeah.
he hasn't brought it up at
Yeah,
all.
no, that's a
totally.
really good point because I feel like the group is so tight knit now. Like, they've been
Right.
through so much that if he did come forward, if that was like an accident or something, or if he found Wes, maybe Wes had like committed suicide or something.
Yeah.
For instance, and he wanted to save him, I feel like it would have been fine for him to come forward. Like, I saw Wes, he was passed out, I tried to do CPR. It didn't work. I had to bolt. Like,
Right.
Well, it's just like whenever Nate was talking about tonight, he's like, if they look at my phone records, they'll see that I was there. It's like, where would we get to eventually in this huge trial? Of course, you're going to investigate every single person close to him. Well, they should anyway, even though cops do often get like stuck on one person. But I feel like that would have eventually come out because, you know, cell phones are pinged everywhere. So it's just kind of like Nate said, if they look at my records, they're going to find it. It's almost weird that he was like pressuring Oliver so much to look at Annalise's
Right.
records when he knew like, oh, this is what's going to be found out.
Right.
But almost because of Nate's positioning with the DA's office, I could understand him almost keeping it under because he basically could just look guilty and lose his job because he was working for the people who were trying to put Annalise in jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Connor, however, they've done so much dirt together, and you've sat there and watched people cry after cry and try to figure out details, and you knew it wasn't someone, and you're like steady pointing the finger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
If he's completely innocent, he would have said something to them already.
right,
And not just pointing fingers at Annalise.
right.
Right. So yeah, I mean, do you guys think he did something more like to Wes deliberately? Like,
He either like found him and he was dead and he was trying to revive him. I don't know if he set the fire.
I feel
or
like he
not.
may have found him and tried to do CPR, but when I first saw that he was at the house, I thought that they got into a fight. And
Yeah,
Right.
that
That's
might have
yeah.
gotten in an
Yeah.
argument and he might have
Knocked him the wrong
knocked
way.
him the wrong
Right.
way.
I don't know.
Snap.
I kind of
Pushed
don't
him down
think it
the
was
stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit him over the head
that
with the
house
trophy.
is super cursed. So many people
Yeah.
have gotten killed.
True.
crazy.
I don't think that I think it was Connor, but I could imagine the first thing that came to mind was that they got into a fight and maybe he just like hit him the wrong way. Something happened. But then I thought like, oh, okay, maybe he found him, he tried to revive him, and then when he couldn't, he set the fire because then he's like, okay, this is just gonna wash away
My fingerprints
everything.
on
And like
you,
I don't know. That doesn't make sense in my
Well,
head.
yeah, I
either,
mean, if
though,
he was
but-
doing CPR, I'm like his DNA or whatever, like I feel like would be very
Well, Wes was
like
burned.
all
He was
over.
burned.
So
yeah.
then
Yeah.
call
Well, yeah, and
Annalise.
so I think it would give Connor a great motive if he couldn't like revive him to kind of cover
Right,
up
like,
his
oh,
own
crap.
tracks, even if he
Yeah.
didn't kill him
Oh, that
to
makes
start the
sense.
fire. That being said, I mean, I really want to point the finger at Connor. I don't think he killed him though. I feel like it's like such a similar death to the Sam incident that they
Right.
would diversify it a little bit. I do think he's not completely clean though. I think he went to
Totally.
the Mahoney's. I think he tipped them off. Maybe. Ooh, actually, maybe
that's
maybe it was
huge.
like an accident or something, and he was trying to tell Wes or
Yeah.
something, and it got out of control. I don't think Connor would kill Wes. I think it's a little
Maybe-
too extreme, but I
maybe
think
the
he's very involved.
Person that Laurel saw was Connor leaving and not Frank.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also, when we have to think about like logistics of the show here, we just lost essentially the main character minus Annalise, of course. We're not gonna lose another member of the Keating
Right.
Five because if it was Connor that killed Wes, he would be gone. Somehow he would be off the show. They're not all still gonna be besties, and we're not gonna never find out who killed Wes.
Right.
So if he did, he would be gone from the show. So I think that's probably, logically speaking, like
Yeah.
the main reason why I'm like, I don't think it's him.
Yeah.
I don't think Connor killed Wes, but knowing Connor just from season after season, I think that we know enough of him to kind of know how he responds and how he acts. We know that sometimes when things like this happen to this extreme, he goes crazy. Like he starts panicking, he has anxiety. So the fact that he tried to do CPR and we don't yet know what happened after that, I feel like he could have made a phone call. He could have called Annalise, he could have called Bonnie, he could have had somebody covered up if he was too scared to call the police because of his fingerprints on the body.
Right.
So that gray area, which I guess we'll find out next episode, is what my concern is with Connor.
Yeah.
Well,
Also,
I guess next week is
Yeah, I
the
know.
finale.
Freaking
So
finale.
what?
It's gonna be a 2
So
hour
I guess
episode.
we'll find
Pretty
out then.
crazy.
Hey, Steven, can we zoom in on this chat? Is it just me that I'm like old and can't read that far?
No, yeah.
Okay.
East Family Time.
Nice. Well, yeah. While that's happening, let's discuss a little bit of this other show that promotes
Thank you.
AfterBuzz.
Yes.
Totally. It's called The Good Fight. So
I wasn't
you know it's
thinking
gotta
you, I was
be
thinking
awesome. The Good Fight is the next chapter of the Good Wife story, hence the name
Fun.
similarities. It's a CBS All Access original series set in the world of The Good Wife, so same universe. The Good Fight is from the creators of The Good Wife, so it's still the same team. Robert and Michelle King continue as the showrunners. Christine Baranski reprises her role as Diane Lockhart, so a lot of familiar faces. Everything is a Ponzi scheme, and now they have to rebuild her life, so it's sort of the next step. Cush Jumbo reprises her role as Luca Quinn. Luca is finding her footing after joining a new law firm, so it's sort of fresh stories as well.
That's my life.
Yeah, right? Rosie Leslie joins the cast as Maya Rindell. Maya's just beginning her career as a lawyer when her father is accused of starting the Ponzi scheme that ruined Diane. Many of the guest stars from The Good Wife fans know and love will be returning as well, including Carrie Preston, Gary Cole, and Matthew Perry. Everybody loves Chandler.
Oh, yeah.
Fun.
And just like in The Good Wife, The Good Fight will not shy away from controversies and issues of today. It's very pop culture friendly, very in the now. New episodes will be released on CBS All Access Sundays beginning February 19th, so very soon. Please start your trial if you guys don't have CBS All Access. You guys can go to cbs.com/goodfight.
That's
Nice.
this weekend, and we have a 3-day weekend.
Yeah,
know.
pretty great.
Nice.
Good time to binge.
Miss it on
Perfect.
Sunday, catch it on Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
Totally. Yeah, let's, if we can, Stephen, get the live chat back up, because I know the fans are probably going crazy,
Oh,
as,
yeah, I'm
as
sure.
are we.
Right.
One thing, actually, about Connor, to kind of wrap that up, I feel like he freaked out so much with, you know, just their original murder, like wanting to turn themselves in multiple times. I feel like if he did kill Wes, that would eat at him in a similar way. I mean, we saw him just like break down so many times, and I mean, thankfully he had Oliver to kind of give him a little bit of balance. But he almost, you know, went into the police station like a number of times, and freaking out.
Maybe he found Wes dead and genuinely does think it was Annalise that killed him.
I mean, he was at Annalise's house, meaning Wes.
Right.
So who else would have been in there to kill him, I guess?
That's definitely possible.
Mahonies.
That's I can see that happening, him really thinking it was Annalise, which is why he was going so hard, pointing the finger at her. But then he pushed Oliver in this way to figure out details, like to figure things out as if 2 and 2 weren't going to be put together.
Right.
So it was almost like even if you did think it was Annalise, when you and Oliver over the past 2 episodes were having these heart-to-hearts and trying to really recuperate your relationship, you should have said, after he told about Sam and after he's been just like being really open and truthful. At that point, he should have said, oh, and by the way, I was also there. You know what I mean? At least with Oliver, if not anyone else.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I guess because he was there, you know, he wanted to avoid all the questioning. But you would think if he had just gone and, like, saw that Wes was dead, like, that would be, you know, like, the rest of the group would trust him enough to kind of follow up on his anxieties.
Or don't you immediately call your friends, hey, our friend's dead.
Wes
I'm
is
trying to
dead
resuscitate
in the
him right now.
house.
Holy
Hell,
crap.
yeah.
Why would Connor tell Oliver that he was with Thomas when, you know, I feel like that would be something I would hide more than the fact that I, like, was there with Wes's body. You know, if you're, like, picking which secret you're going to tell, because that really isn't his alibi. So it's obvious he's obviously, like, hiding something specific to Wes. Because it has to be bad enough for him to be like, oh, yeah, I wasn't there because I was cheating on you with this guy
dude
that you used to hook up with. You know what I mean?
It's almost like he tried to use Thomas as his alibi for that reason.
Right.
But it's also really weird because how the producers set it up for us, you know, they always try to hit us with these blind spots. Connor came to the hospitals totally like, who's dead? So who is it? Like, and we were just like, wait, what?
Right.
He came like in a shock, and they thought that it could have been Wes or Connor because Connor was one of the last ones to get to the hospital. But when he came, he still had like this sense of surprise. It wasn't, you know.
Yeah, he's been lying to us from the beginning.
Yeah, so the way that they set that up is interesting because we even saw him in the bed with Thomas.
Right.
And then we thought he went to the hospital.
Yeah, but they said that he left Thomas's a few hours before the fire.
Hours?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Do we know why Annalise called all of them there
No.
to the house in the first place? I wonder if we'll find that out next week.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean,
In the comments, if she did say that.
I think we did kind of get it the first half of this season. I remember her calling Laurel to come to the house.
She was calling everyone.
And I can't remember why. And I remember Wes going to the house.
Was it about because they found out Wes
finals and they were all drinking and
but I think it was because someone said that Wes was at the police station and then he left and didn't he call Annalise? Or he called Bonnie or he called someone.
He said someone
right
and said it's Kristoff. So it could have been like the Mahoney since we know that they knew he was the son.
Yeah.
Because Laurel hired the private investigator that did the DNA.
Or Wes probably hooked up with his mother-in-law and or stepmom.
Whoa, you think so? I feel like she hates it.
Because who else would he have called and said it's Kristoff? The fact that there's a DNA test out there now, he could have been in cahoots with the DNA test, and now when he was calling before he died, he's like, okay, hey, it's me, Kristoff, like, because now they have some type of connection for them to know who he is.
That's the only person
who
that
would call
could have said Kristoff.
Someone
or that
there.
knew.
So you think the Mahonies are like good then, or
No.
like,
No, not.
I think they're tied in somehow.
Yeah.
I think they very well may be the people, but I think that he was in contact.
Oh, okay.
with
So
them.
you think that Wes didn't think that they were bad and like went to?
No, I don't necessarily think that either. I think that, or do you?
Because
think
you're
that?
saying that like he.
No,
used...
I don't think that he thought that they weren't bad, but I think that they somehow connected because he was so eager to figure out who his dad was. And when he was getting the...
Right. No, I totally agree that he wanted proof.
So when he was getting the answers to his question, his dad died. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wes then hooked up with another member of the family in the Mahonies, and they had to have this DNA test to prove that he was the son.
Right.
And then in that case, maybe we don't know if they reconciled their relationship or if it was still like raw. Like we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of knew about the DNA test,
right?
And then he called and said, he called and said or maybe I'm in trouble, or this is what's happening, or whatever the case may be,
or arrange some sort of meeting or something.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So did it go away? I just said sorry, I missed your name, but they said that Annalise found out that the DA was investigating her.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that is true.
That is true.
Yes.
Thank you for that. I've missed the name.
Yes. Good recap.
Yeah.
Do you actually hold on? One more thing that I forgot to say when we were finishing up Connor. He forgot his phone conveniently, like that night, and I feel like that's a pretty suspect thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And why are you
phone?
gonna lie to your boyfriend, your hacker boyfriend, that you checked your voicemail the next day when he could like clearly see when you did
Exactly.
that?
Right.
It's just, but Connor's done a lot of dumb things, obviously, but this was just really dumb. It just doesn't add up.
I
Right.
clearly missed the phone leaving.
Well, no,
Yeah, I don't know what that might
when they were kind of calling everybody to like get back to the house, as we were talking about, they called Connor and it was still at Michaela's house.
Remember, I was
so
on the
like, he didn't
couch.
pick it up.
You're right.
Oh,
Because at that time he was at Thomas's.
Right.
And her mom actually picked it up.
No, I think he left Thomas's, put his phone in the couch to pretend like it wasn't there.
Oh,
or whatever.
yeah.
Because it was a
Ooh,
few
yeah.
hours before the fire, so he was probably covering his tracks.
Yeah.
Left his phone somewhere intentionally.
Yeah.
Oh my
pretty
gosh,
fishy.
this is crazy.
Connor looking pretty guilty right now.
Yeah, looking very guilty. If he didn't kill Wes, he might have burned the house down to like cover his...
Right.
I'm digging the burning the house down. I think he did.
Because
for some reason.
what we felt to question is just why would he check his voicemail from Thomas's phone?
Right.
So was it a random, hey, let me check my voicemail because I left my phone in Michaela's couch? Or was it, I saw Annalise call, let me check my voicemail to see what she left a few hours before the
Right.
fire?
Okay, maybe
Yeah.
he did accidentally leave his phone then.
But then who just randomly
If he
checked
But
his
yeah, how
voicemail?
that's a
Not-
pretty
Someone
weird thing
who's
to do.
been hiding a lot
Yeah.
of dead bodies.
Exactly.
Like,
True.
Someone
I'd probably wanna
who's
check that.
guilty of something. So yeah, Connor definitely a suspect for sure. The plot thickens beyond him. I think a little bit more. I do like how Asher is picking up on all this. Like,
Yes.
again, who would have thought Asher from season 1 would be the investigative eye.
Whoever
Just kinda
smelt
put
it dealt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
now
So
Asher
good.
is the
So
ride or
good.
die. Like we always
Yeah.
talk about, and Frank obviously.
Yeah.
Frank just like
Killed it.
really killed it.
Yeah,
Right. But
and Frank came back in a massive way this episode. I think he's been sort of the problem character and the crux of a lot of conflicts, but he really held it down this episode. Like he completely crushed the case.
I mean, he lawyered himself.
He did.
yeah,
He
did a better job than Bonnie's done this entire series.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It got to me a little bit though when he was in jail and he was making the call who he thought was to Bonnie and he realized it was Annalise, and I almost saw like an inner child in him.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
in the way that he was acting, but for Frank, I saw him become a child when he realized it was Annalise.
It was like his commander.
Interesting.
kind
Yeah,
of.
like so, and that made me very, very vulnerable. Or I don't know what it did to me, but it did something when I was watching it because he was almost like trembling, and I'm just like, I understand that he put her in a situation with her child and she
Yeah.
lost her baby, but he really feels like he owes her his life.
He does.
Right.
Think
Yeah.
about one of the last times we saw them
I think-
together was the gun scene of him holding it to his head and
Yeah.
being like, I'll do it, like to kill himself in order to make it feel justified that he had a part of killing her baby. So of course he, immediately goes back to that. Just because he didn't kill himself, obviously he's still looking for ways to do whatever, and that's what he was telling her. Like,
Right.
I'll do whatever you need. Not a big deal, pretty much. You can just tell he's willing to legit do whatever in
Right.
order to get her off. He doesn't care about his own life at this point.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
he ultimately wants to save himself too, but what is most important is saving her in order to justify what happened.
Interesting that you guys saw it that like emotionally. I mean, I definitely saw it too. I was thinking it was more smart though, because he, figured out that it was Annalise and kept the charade of it being Bonnie alive, so that they wouldn't be able to record it.
Right.
I think there is still that client confidentiality he had with Bonnie. So that was really cool that he was smart enough to keep that up, and I thought it was a really cool move for Frank to communicate with Annalise, knowing this and
he's a criminal.
No, totally. But it was just such a cool moment of he was being so real with her, and they haven't really talked at all in such a long time.
Yeah.
That I think he, like you said, put everything back on the table that he's always been willing to give, and really showed his loyalty.
Right. I mean, he confessed to this crime that we're assuming he didn't do.
Right.
Unless he did do it. I don't know. So I mean, I don't think it's I think it's fair to say he's going to do whatever it takes. And I think Annalise knows that too.
Yeah, and I think that's why she went back to Bonnie and was like, let's get Frank out. She is the mom.
I think even before the call though, she's in a place right now where she's no longer willing to drag everyone else down around her.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There was a point. Yeah, there was a point where it didn't matter who you were being framed. You were
thrown in front of fire.
And even before the call, when Bonnie was like, just put it on Nate or whatever, you can kind of see that she's over blaming innocent people.
Right.
Yeah. I loved seeing Annalise back. When she was typing up that letter and she's just back in action. This is old Annalise, and I loved it. Because I don't ever like to see her being the victim. She definitely took things into her own hands.
There was one special moment when she took things into her hand that made me really excited. And it was with the dean.
Oh, yeah. Hargrove?
Yes. I love that scene.
So good. So good. I mean, we've always sort of had our eyes on Hargrove as being playing both sides or being fishy in a lot of ways, and to have that confirmation, I feel so good, so satisfied.
I feel they tried to trick us, and I think we all got played a little bit because I looked around the table as we were watching it, and we were like, "What the hell?"
When Annalise figured it out, because I couldn't tell. I was like, "Is this girl trying to get romantic again?"
I thought she was Annalise was noticing. Ooh, she's trying to flirt with me because they zoomed in on the twirling of the hair and of her playing with her ring.
Anything,
yeah,
well,
she's always been so fake.
It was always her bringing up stuff that doesn't matter, and also why would Annalise care about a controversy about the law library?
Right.
You know what I mean? So the fact that when Annalise put that together, I was like, yes, that is the old Annalise. I love that, and I'm so glad that Hargrove ended up being a bad person because I did not get why she's in.
No.
They played me because I was like, oh, she's really just trying to be her friend. And when she was like, oh, I guess you're my sponsor, I'm like, okay, now they could be in cahoots, have an associationship. I was really proud of Annalise for not taking any drugs or pain pills or anything like that.
Yeah.
So when she called Hargrove, I'm like, okay, maybe this is a moment for it not to be a cat fight and we can see friendship here. And then I was like, I hope she's not trying to get laid. Annalise, your face is still swollen. Please sit down.
Calm down.
Calm down.
No, at the same time, I mean, I love the old Annalise being back and the fire raging within, when she went after the new character, what's her name? Ingrid Peters.
Ingrid.
Yeah.
But I almost love the confrontation with Hargrove more because she took the high road, something we've really never seen before. Her come into a confrontation, call someone out, and just be she wasn't furious, angry. She was more just disappointed.
Because I think she got it. I think she thought oh, you did it for your kids. Right. I understand. I almost thought for a second they were going to say she was going to give her a piece of information so then to kind of turn her. So, oh, let me give you this and you tell Detective Atwood or DA Atwood, whatever, that, this is what I told you, but now we're going to be working together since I found you out. Otherwise, I'll... because if Annalise told anyone, she would lose her job.
That conversation, though, is almost how we got Frank to go so hard in the courthouse.
Yeah.
Because when Annalise realized that Atwood put Hargrove up to trapping her, she's like, okay, so she's had communication with you. Let me give her a taste of her own medicine.
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of cooked that idea up.
Yeah. Annalise is I'm not a joke.
Right. No. But I do agree with you because, JB, she literally just got up. She didn't say anything. She didn't rebuttal. It wasn't like a scoff. It was just All
Yeah,
right.
just I'm done with you.
Now
Yeah.
you know, I'm not gonna feed
That-
you any information or
that's
anything.
enough.
And fortunately, she didn't say anything that was like incriminating or whatever to Hargrove.
She literally said nothing.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah, no, we've seen a very evolved Annalise now. I feel like prison has honestly changed her for the better. She's clearly forgiven Frank. She's not really taking the easy way out just because it's convenient or presents another suspect like Bonnie was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool to see her grow. I mean, we've always seen her as one way and like perfect in that way, kind of come out guns blazing. But it's really cool to see her be more dynamic and be able to do even more. Like
She's humbled.
Yeah.
And now everyone knows about the Mahoney's involvement in her son, her unborn son, and that whole thing. So like the five didn't know that
Right.
before, and now they do. And I honestly, I kind of wish she told them a long time ago.
I do too.
Because it just explains so much, and the fact that like Laurel got a private investigator, and to go up against this family is dangerous, especially since Laurel's pregnant.
I also wanted her to tell Laurel that she's kind of been looking out for Wes his whole life.
Yeah.
Like I wanted her to
Go a little further.
I wanted
yeah.
her to hand that to Laura so Laura could finally shut up. But
Yeah.
I hate to
Yeah.
jump back to Carter really quick because you brought up the baby. Can we just talk about how annoying he was when he basically said she's lying about the whole baby thing.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, people make that up.
Super
And I was just like,
inconsiderate.
seriously, dude?
Yeah, that was. I think he's just trying so hard to point fingers at her just so it doesn't come back to him.
Right.
But I mean, that was definitely too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I get like thinking, just going off of what they've been through, of her throwing it out there to be like, oh, she's just saying that to make us feel bad. Even though clearly we know that's not why she was saying it. She said it because she's like, I'm trying to protect you. This is a family that literally kills people
Right.
that try and go against them. But Connor just always takes everything way too far. But it's even like with Laurel, she was skeptical at first, and then
Yeah.
she kind of like gave
Came
into
around.
it.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about Bonnie kind of offering to take Laurel to get an abortion? I kind of took it as I was like, whoa, that's way too far and also
Yeah.
way too much and not your place at all, whatever she decides. But at the same time, I feel like it might have maybe come from like a place of like, I'm here for you if you need it, just because of how dangerous the Mahoneys are.
Yeah.
Like, because if the baby is Wes's, that's their great grandchild or whatever. She might
True.
come asking for money.
Yeah.
It's like, and to that family, it's all about money. So, like,
Right.
it could be a hazard, and maybe Bonnie wanted to, like, offer a handout. But, like, I thought it was way too much and, like,
Yeah.
very insensitive. But
I just don't even think Bonnie's thinking that. Like, I get it, and when you say it, it makes sense, obviously. But I thought whenever she was first like, I'll help you get an appointment, for like the slightest second, I was like, oh, like with a doctor? That's really nice of her. And then I was like, no, that's not what Bonnie meant whatsoever. It's just like they don't have the relationship.
Right.
And with Bonnie's involvement with Frank, it's like I just feel like her.
Yeah, it's pretty messy.
It's just
pretty
not
messy.
clear.
Yeah.
I definitely thought that Bonnie was like reaching out a hand, trying to get her to
Yeah.
get prenatal care. And then she was like, but so what raised the flag for me was we can tell Annalise that it was a miscarriage. And I'm almost like, so Bonnie's perception of Laurel's pregnancy is completely different because she feels like Annalise may be mad at the fact that Laurel is pregnant with Wes's baby. Because why would you get an abortion and then tell her about the miscarriage? Obviously because Annalise lost the baby, so she would be upset, if someone got an abortion or whatnot. But it was just like, why would you put that option on the table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just,
Yeah,
like,
pretty
too
insensitive.
much.
But it
Maybe she just thought, like, with all you're going through right now, this is a lot. Laurel is saying that the baby is Wes's, obviously. So it's like, maybe she's thinking, do you want to go through this and all the stuff that's about to happen and be a single mom? I think that's more so, like, where she was coming from, but it was just insanely insensitive.
Like, if I'm giving Bonnie the benefit of the doubt, her reasoning is because of the Mahoneys and the danger that they, like, could potentially
Could threaten
be.
her with.
But I still think it was the most
It's a
insensitive
part of her
thing.
character.
Yeah,
That's who
and
Bonnie
that is
is.
a part of her character. And not to mention, in that same conversation, she brought up Frank and was like, Frank's asking about
Yes,
you
yes.
and, like,
No,
all
it
this
was-
stuff. So it's like, why is she doing that?
It's totally about to bring that up. Thank you. I feel like Bonnie has like everybody's best interest in some ways, similar to Annalise, but she just handles it in the wrong way. She goes 0 to 60. She's very impulsive. I think her reaching out a hand sort of is what she intended, but she just went about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean, knowing how Annalise lost her child, like, in utero with the Mahonies. I think she was trying to like avoid a similar situation, not knowing that it's obviously completely different and very insensitive to kind of offer that as an option to sort of minimize potential damages.
They just don't have the type of relationship or friendship where they do that. Like that's something that I would say to my best friend, like, oh, if you want to do this, I'm totally there for you. Like, I'll help you, whatever.
Right.
But also it's just not like what you lead with, no matter what.
True. But I mean, she did bring up Frank. When Frank was asking about the group, she kind of saw through that and was like, Laurel's fine. Like, don't worry. So I think she knows that they.
To see. Or she wanted.
She's just bitter.
Yeah. She's been broken since Sam died. Since the whole and she's been broken since Sam died.
Yeah, it's before that. I think she came to Annalise broken.
It's not even her husband, and she got the nerve to be broken because of his death. Like, girl, you were sleeping with Annalise's husband.
No, she didn't.
She wasn't. Let us not forget that she was definitely
in
abused
love.
as a child.
That one time.
She was in love with him.
She definitely was in love with him.
What is Bonnie bringing to the table though now? Because now that Annalise is out, she's basically orchestrating this whole case, and Frank is pulling most of the weight on that on that behalf.
But I think she gave him the information, and she covered it up well enough.
But it was Annalise's idea.
It was Annalise's idea.
Yeah,
and
she's sort of an errand.
And anytime any of the students ask a question, she's like, I don't know. What are we going to do? I don't know what's happening.
I don't necessarily think she's really bringing anything to the table. I don't even think they'll discuss that because ultimately I feel like, I don't know if we'll get this answer before the end of the season, but I feel like, okay, if we find out who killed Wes, we still have Annalise's whole entire trial that will most likely be next season. So it's like, what is there for her to do at this point?
Bonnie has the secrets between her and Frank of why they were following Wes.
Yeah,
she has some inside.
Yeah,
and
she knows something for sure.
She's still like up there on that list.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Well, I think she's still a pretty pivotal character. She's like the only lawyer, like officially, that can represent Annalise. She can kind of play like an intermedium between like with Frank. So she is very useful. Again, her methods we can dissect all day, and I think we'll shoot them all down because she's not the best. But at the same time, I do think she's a necessary part of the group right now.
Yeah.
What about Atwood confessing to getting rid of Wes's body, and now it's cremated, so they can't even do a second autopsy because it's cremated.
I really do feel like that's just, okay, case over right there. Like, you moved a body, you forged a document saying that someone else did, and you had it cremated knowing that someone else was requesting to do an autopsy. Like, isn't that pretty much like, okay, case over?
Closed.
Right.
Like, that's literally that's what I get from it. Like, how can you try a case when you know that the very person trying it, and even if, they just went with like Denver, he's still involved with the DA. So it's like, I just feel like it's a mistrial.
But then they still need to figure out who killed Wes.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't even have a body to work with now.
I know.
Right.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Who freaking killed Wes?
Well, luckily
it's clearly
we
a
can find
conspiracy of sorts.
It
because
is.
why else? That's who. It's like we're thinking about, oh, this person was sketchy, but then we have to think about, like, why would she move the body if she had?
She didn't just move it. She like incinerated
exactly,
it.
and illegally, obviously.
Right.
So why would she do that if there wasn't some sort of conspiracy going on? Unless, obviously she wants Annalise to go to jail, and so maybe she thinks, oh, if they do the other autopsy. We saw the sketchiness with it like back earlier in the season, whenever they said, oh, he definitely died by the fire or whatever.
That's
clearly, like, something
or the
is
Mahonies
happening.
have a hand with the DA's office and are kind of manipulating it.
Yeah. I think so. I think Atwood, she's gone after Annalise so aggressively. That is breaking the law like so many times over, getting rid of evidence, like destroying it. She was obviously lying to her colleague because he was said in court, like, we're closing in on the body.
Yeah.
Clearly not.
Right.
If it's like been burned out, like, you are getting further away.
Could Maggie have had like access to Wes's body or like anything with it getting cremated?
Maybe.
For that process, like if she's working with Atwood or
I'm sure
something.
she could have.
Because she wasn't in this episode, but I still like have her on the radar.
Yeah, I think she's a spy of sorts.
You think so?
I just think that why else introduce Wes having a girlfriend? Like there was no like back and forth. I mean, maybe a little bit between
Well,
like
with
Laurel
Laurel
and
and
Wes
stuff.
over but it's like they would have made that more of a thing if that's the reason why she was going to be
Right.
on here. Like, oh, now Wes is going with Laurel. Also, it drives me nuts that now they make it seem like Laurel was so in love with Wes now that he's dead. Like, especially in Tonight, just the way like she cries and anyway.
He deserves
You're
better.
clearly not a fan.
Girl.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you in a lot of ways. I think to me she just serves as like a red herring, like someone we like to suspect. But I feel like Atwood has done so much to kind of push her case forward, and so like the wrong way that it doesn't really add up that she's just jealous of Annalise or just like has like a small
there's
vendetta.
definitely more there to why she
Right.
has this vendetta
But
against
think about it, going back to the Mahoneys, who else would have the power or kind of like the forceful hand to make someone do something
Right.
that stupid? Like to where ultimately, obviously,
Yeah, she's
it
like
could be
forging
found out.
documents and stuff.
I feel like the Mahonies are the only people.
Which
because
makes
we have to think about the dad died because of the involvement with that. The
Right.
son is in jail because of Wes. Like, she has plenty of reason to want to put Annalise or like Mrs. Mahoney has plenty of reason to want to put Annalise away and to kill Wes.
Which
and I feel like
makes
she's
me-
the only person that has the power to do it to everyone else.
Want to bring Ingrid back up because of her power in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when we see Annalise confront someone of this sort, Annalise wins and gets
Yeah.
her way. But Ingrid almost called her and was just like, not happening, not accepting it, rejecting it. And I felt like when she said that, I felt like the only reason that she went so hard on the phone with Annalise was because of because somebody was pressing into her. So I feel like she may have called the Mahonies or whoever is manipulating the case on their end and was like, this is what's happening, this is what she was going to do. And they were like, you better fix it.
Yeah.
So she kind of almost pushed back to Annalise. And that was like one of the rare times outside of Michaela tonight that in Laurel, that we saw someone really hand it to Annalise.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like it's bigger than Atwood because when Denver asked Atwood what's on the phone just so I can be prepared, she's like, well, I can tell you what's on it. But we don't see exactly what she says to him, but she could be taking the fault. Like, she might not have, she probably had to confess to moving the body.
Yeah.
Or she'd
Or
be
other
screwed.
Or
Prejudice.
she'd be
Yeah.
screwed, like whoever is above her or whatever, whoever's behind this, whatever. She's probably taking the fall.
Right.
for
I mean,
whatever's
she
happening.
she
Good
got
point,
suspended.
yeah.
I think she wanted to mitigate like not being fired completely because she royally screwed the pooch up on this
Yeah.
whole case.
Finally.
Sorry, Atwood. Thanks for coming on the show.
Love
we
your
enjoyed
character,
having you. Yeah, your character is so enjoyable to hate though. Like she's such a good villain because
I have a
you know,
smile on my face. I'm just like,
yeah, just like
oh my
yes,
God.
vindication. So that was probably one of the more satisfying reveals is that she kind of got what her due was.
Yeah.
Things caught up with her because she was pulling a lot of sketchiness.
Yeah.
And poor Nate, like him being so worried that he for me was like a star in tonight's episode.
he redeemed
when he
himself for sure
cried
for me, too.
to Annalise at the very beginning, talking about Wes and how he was, just trying to protect him and all that stuff. Seeing that beautiful man cry just hurt me a lot.
No.
No, it hurt me.
Didn't buy it.
I brought it, but then he switched it up so fast. Nate put me on a roller coaster tonight, and I was not happy.
Yeah.
Well, I was very
I
happy.
was there with him, and I felt his pain and his guilt for what happened with Wes, because from our knowledge, he was the last one who saw him, right?
Yeah.
And then here comes poor Annalise with her face all bruised, trying to be the fixer-upper that she is. She's trying to protect Nate and help him out, and he calls her and says, "Don't help me." And I'm just like, dude, be grateful that somebody's in your corner.
Right.
And this whole episode, thanks to Annalise's mom, I kept calling him Nathaniel in my mind. So when he was crying, I was like, don't cry, Nathaniel.
Aww.
And then at the end, he wants to it worked. Boy,
Yeah.
I told
He was wrong.
She should
I
have
mean,
trusted her the whole time.
He was wrong, but think about what she's done to him before. And his initial
It's fair.
thing when she gets out of jail is someone calling him to investigate because of this thing. I mean, what else is he gonna think?
I don't think that he thought Annalise would go that high up.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Especially with all the stuff that she's actually done and covered up and whatever. Like, to go that high up in court is pretty risky.
Yeah.
Right. No, I love
For
that she
everyone.
did though. I mean,
Yeah.
even when she's getting no love in return, she wants to protect her kids. I mean, obviously Nate is different, but she still feels responsible for his well-being and safety in the fact where he
she
doesn't
should.
get like,
She did put him in jail for a long time.
Yeah.
right. She's thrown him under the bus.
I still
considerable
wanted them
amount
to
of
be this
times.
like dynamic power couple. They
Right.
totally could have
Right.
had it, but then she went cray cray on the alcohol.
But for a second tonight when they were holding hands, I was like, is the love back?
Right.
I don't know. I just have a thing for them, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be dead entirely. I mean, it's been a bumpy road, so it's gonna take some counseling probably.
Yes.
But I think they could have a future, especially now that he's off and she's turned sort of a new leaf to not screw over anybody. Hopefully, Laurel and Michaela kind of get that note. It seems like Michaela wasn't too far down that road. Obviously, Laurel had a deeper connection to Wes, and that's been eating at her. But it was nice to see them get some resolve. I feel like everybody has had such pent up anger and like not without like an outlet to place it in.
Yeah.
So they kind of blame Annalise, like she's out now. Connor's been like fueling the fire by putting this enemy stuff in their heads, and they kind of lash out. Like it's been eating away. Obviously, Michaela has been holding down the fort, but she's beginning to break down.
Yeah.
Luckily, she doesn't. And now that Laurel found some solace with this PI guy and another thread to kind of chase down, I feel like
Yeah.
Guys,
that's for the best.
can we get the producers on the phone and figure out why next week?
Yeah,
is
just
2
we
hours?
get the writers.
Finale.
Yeah.
I
Like-
thought we had like 5 more weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't we just start back like a couple weeks ago?
We did.
like
We
it.
did. It was such a short like second half of the season.
I wonder
Yeah.
if
Long enough
anyone
people.
watching,
I wonder
like in the
why.
comment section, let us know if you knew that this was coming or if you had some kind of insight.
Yeah, they kind of
I
just
looked-
threw
we
it
should.
on
We definitely
us.
did
I was like, whoa.
I
I'm not
looked on
prepared for
Twitter
this.
like right after it ended, and everyone on Twitter with the hashtag was just like, "What?
Is it
Next
because
to
of
last week?"
Because we got a new season, so that's
Yeah,
exciting.
that is
but
exciting.
do they need to recruit? Is someone pregnant? Like, what's happening?
Well, they would have already finished filming for this season a long time ago. So this has clearly been in the works the whole time. They definitely didn't cut any episodes. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a 2-hour finale, so maybe
2
they
hours.
combined it
Yeah,
for some
could
reason.
have.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I'm glad that we get like so much in one night.
Yeah.
Hopefully, answers.
Do you know
finally.
what can happen in 2 hours?
A lot can go down. I mean, we saw it tonight. If that's any example, like the last half hour was filled with more than I feel like.
I was gonna say everything in the show
second
usually
half of the
happens
season.
in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
King
They
B
drop bombs.
said they told us last week. Well, how did you know last week that it was going to be a 2-hour finale?
I
Fair
guess they
enough. Well, I
told
mean,
us.
we definitely skipped through the
missed
commercials
that.
because we gotta make time for the show.
Right.
Yeah.
But
True.
yeah,
Niles
thank
knew
you,
it was
King,
gonna be
King
2
Ben,
hours.
for
Okay,
attention to
that's what it
detail.
It is.
I was surprised, very shocked, and it's also just denial. I don't want it to be over.
Yeah,
It's a
for
good
sure.
show.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I feel like I really just feel like we just started, so
Yeah.
that's why I was mainly surprised.
I know. Now that like
Sadsies.
things are starting to come out, it's so much more exciting. Like when we do get those answers and like
Yeah. So what
start
are
pointing fingers.
what are we
like,
gonna do
know.
when we find out who killed Wes? Like,
don't
does the
know.
show
Whoa.
end forever?
Now, do we have Annalise's
We have another
trial?
season coming up, so I'm sure they'll
That's
they'll
true.
tease us with something else
I
coming
think
up.
we should have a proper funeral for Wes. Like,
We
because
should.
you know,
Right.
Let's all wear black next
Yeah,
week.
just
Okay.
wear-
I mean, I wear all
redo.
black every week. So.
Just call Mulligan
Somebody
on the
will
whole
do
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Eulogy.
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 Thanks, guys. I don't go to many funerals. Someone will do that, and we'll have his picture, and
Yeah.
because
do it.
Laura went crazy, and we need to just give him some peace.
Yeah.
I love that Laurel went crazy.
do.
I'm
I
like,
did too.
someone needs to go crazy over this.
Right.
Yeah,
And I'm glad it's
it was
her.
good.
No, I really hope we get some closure next episode. I mean, is there anything else that you guys want to see in the 2-hour finale? Any
I mean, there's
predictions?
so much that I
Should
want to
we
see.
move to predictions?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay, what's gonna happen?
Prediction.
Yeah.
My predictions are all over the place. So someone else go first.
I'm just gonna throw out there that obviously. I think Connor and Bonnie are like my two. I need to know where Bonnie was. What's she doing? Why was she following Wes?
We don't know
I
where she
still
was at
think the
all.
Mahoney. Yeah, we don't know where she was exactly, and we know that she had Frank keeping an eye on Wes. I think the Mahonies are involved somehow, some
Yeah.
way.
I definitely feel like the Mahonies are the number one on my
source.
list. It's easy to blame Bonnie pretty much for everything, and I kind of like that her character is so still mysterious and just like off edge that she could always do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she like her conversation with Frank made me believe that she like was really being authentic with him, and he was like, "No, I definitely didn't do it." So I don't think she would have acted that way if she was hiding something. And I don't know if she would, I mean, seeing how incapable of handling the case on her own she was, I don't think she'd be able to hide something that big, like killing Wes.
But I don't think she's that incapable. I think she's been acting
Really?
more incapable than she
Seems.
is.
Ooh.
But only I think Mahoney's are number one for me. I've thought that since the finale of last season because I remember them throwing, or whenever it was, I remember them throwing the papers into the fireplace, and I'm like, ooh, why are they showing us what's his face Mahoney's picture right now? Like clearly they're gonna be remembered for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think Bonnie is the one. It's funny you say it about her character because her character is the one to me that could just be like, okay, you're going to the police, you're doing this. I'm scared. You're dead. You're out.
Ooh,
I feel like that's what she did with Rebecca. She was like, okay, I don't know what else to do, so let me murder you in cold blood. And there's just so many unanswered things. Now, obviously, there have been moments this season where it seems like no, but I just think she maybe could have done something more for Annalise.
Mm-hmm.
She really didn't do anything. She did like the stuff that anyone with a law degree would think to do, or anyone even without a law degree would think to do. And so Annalise got herself, I don't know, there's just something fishy with her to me.
I mean, she's
I don't know.
been an easy suspect for sure.
I think it's interesting that April brings up Rebecca because I literally was going to say that Bonnie is acting the same way that she acted when she killed Rebecca.
Yeah.
We didn't
right?
know. We didn't know that she killed Rebecca. She was totally desensitized from it. And then all of a sudden, bam, it was her. However, I think that there is something in Atwood's correspondence that's going to give us our murder suspect or at least an insight to what's really been happening. So that's what I'm more so looking forward into the finale. Just who has she been talking to and what is really her motive? It can't just be Nate. It can't just be to get back at Annalise.
Right.
There's something deeper there.
Did you guys think it was weird, just a quick note, when Annalise, after she found out about Hargrove, when she was like, we should just kill her?
No.
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
she was
obviously she was like kidding,
Well,
but I was
kind of like, oh, should we?
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of down.
Yeah.
But not really, but like, I felt like Bonnie would like carry that out.
Bonnie's like,
Yeah,
oh,
she's
okay.
like,
Bonnie's like, I'm on
do not
it.
take that
Gotta
literally,
take it care
Bonnie.
of.
Yeah,
Bonnie's like already done.
yeah, she's like,
She's
done
in the
and
trunk.
done.
It's handled.
Yeah, we just send a text really quick.
Yeah.
I mean, Bonnie's a very easy character to blame in pretty much every circumstance, as we said. But I think Connor, I feel like Connor is involved. I don't think he killed Wes, but I do think he was involved with the Mahonies and sort of the greater conspiracy. And, that's why he's been so attentive on Annalise and, like, wanting to see what she has because he's scared. And I think that might be what the next season is about.
Yeah.
Like, they come forward, like, Wes or Connor finally confesses to whatever his involvement is, and they have to get him off. Because I do think it's bigger. Maybe he tipped the Mahonies off or something, said something to someone, even if it was Atwood, that involves him somewhat. I don't think he committed murder, but I think the group will have to prove that he's innocent enough.
Like, maybe
season.
the Mahonies have something on the whole group that he's, like, trying to protect.
Yeah.
And then they're going to protect him.
Yeah.
Either way, he's being sketchy, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I think he went all Adele and set fire to the ring.
Seriously. Well, I mean, again, to bring up our boy Asher, he totally called Connor out for like talking to Atwood. So whether that happened, we don't know. But I mean, they definitely planted that
I would
seed.
totally Michaela Asher now.
You what?
Would Michaela Asher
Oh.
be like his little black girlfriend?
I think they're cute.
Nice. Well, yeah, we've come a long way since season
Yes.
1, folks. Tune in next week for the season finale. Very sad that it's ending so soon.
But it's 2 hours.
It is. At least we get that. Until then, where can the people find you guys?
Y'all can find me everywhere at April Whisenhant.
And you can follow me on all social platforms at hey_it's_lay.
You guys can find me at Sterling Cates.
And you guys can find me at Hey John Blake. Tune in next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.